May our Father, Messiah, and the Holy Spirit be with us. There we go. Let's get it. Jeremiah, the word of Jeremiah, son of Hilkiah, one of the priests at Anathoth, in the territory of Benjamin. The word of our Father in heaven came to him in the days of King Josiah, son of Ammon of Yehuda, in the 13th year of his reign, and throughout the days of King Jehoiakim, son of Josiah of Judah, and until the end of the 11th year of the king Zedekiah, son of Josiah of Judah. When Jerusalem went into exile in the 5th month, the word of our Father in heaven came to me. Before I created you in the womb, I selected you. Before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet concerning the nations. I replied, our Father in heaven, Elohim, I don't know how to speak, for I am still a boy. And our Father in heaven said to me, do not say I am still a boy, but go wherever I send you and speak whatever I command you. Have no fear of them, for I am with you to deliver you, declares our Father in heaven. Our Father in heaven put out his hand and touched my mouth, and our Father in heaven said to me, herewith I put my words into your mouth. See, I appoint you this day over nations and kingdoms, to uproot and to pull down, to destroy and to overthrow, to build and to plant. The word of our Father in heaven came to me. What do you see, Jeremiah? I replied, I see a branch of an almond tree. Our Father in heaven said to me, there we go. He said, I see a branch of an almond tree. Our Father in heaven said to me, ye have seen right, for I am watchful to bring my word to pass. And the word of our Father in heaven came to me a second time. What do you see? I replied, I see a steaming pot tipped away from the north. And our Father in heaven said to me, from the north shall disaster break loose upon all the inhabitants of the land. For I am summoning all the peoples of the kingdoms of the north, declares our Father in heaven. They shall come and shall each set up a throne before the gates of Jerusalem, against its walls round about, and against all the towns of Judah. And I will argue my case against them. For all their wickedness they have forsaken me, and sacrificed to other mighty ones, and worship the works of their hands. So you gird up your loins, arise and speak to them all that I command you. Do not break down before them, lest I break you before them. I make you this day a fortified city and an iron pillar, and bronze walls against the whole land, against Yehuda's kings and officers, and against its priests and citizens. They will attack you, but they shall not overcome you, for I am with you, declares our Father in heaven, to save you. The word of our Father in heaven came to me, saying, go proclaim to Jerusalem, thus said our Father in heaven, I accounted to your favor the devotion of your youth, your love as a bride, how you followed me in the wilderness, in a land not sown. Israel was holy to our Father in heaven, the first fruits of his harvest. All who ate of it were held guilty. Disaster befell them, declares our Father in heaven. Hear the word of our Father in heaven, O house of Jacob, every clan of the house of Israel. They said, our Father in heaven, what wrong did your fathers find in me, that they abandoned me and went after delusion and were deluded? They never asked themselves, where is our Father in heaven, who brought us up from the land of Mitzrayim, who led us through the wilderness, a land of deserts and pits, a land of drought and darkness, a land no man had traversed, where no human being had dwelt. I brought you to this country of farmland, to enjoy its fruit and its bounty. But you came and defiled my land. You made my possession abhorrent. The priests never asked themselves, where is our Father in heaven? The guardians of the teaching ignored me. The rulers rebelled against me, and the prophets prophesied by Baal, and followed what can do no good. I will go on accusing you, declares our Father in heaven, and I will accuse your children's children. Just cross over to the isles of the Kittim and look, send to Kedar and observe carefully. See if aught like this has ever happened. Has any nation changed its mighty ones? Even though there are no mighty ones, for my people has exchanged its glory. For what can do no good? Be appalled, O heavens, at this. Be horrified, utterly dazed, says our Father in heaven, for my people have done a twofold wrong. They have forsaken me, the fount of living waters, and hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns, which cannot even hold water. Is Israel a bondman? Is he a home-born slave? Then why is he given over to plunder? Lions have roared over him, have raised their cries. They have made his land a waste. His city is desolate, without inhabitants. Those two in Nob and Taphanes will lay bare your heads. See, that is the price you have paid for forsaking our Father in heaven, Elohim. Why he led you in the way What then is the good of your going to Mitzrayim to drink the waters of Nile? Or what is the good of your going to Assyria to drink the waters of Euphrates? Let your misfortune reprove you. Let your afflictions rebuke you. Mark well how bad and bitter it is that you forsake our Father in heaven, your Elohim. That all for me is not in you, declares our Father in heaven, Elohim of hosts. For long ago you broke your yoke, tore off your yoke bands, and said, I will not work. On every high hill and under every verdant tree, you recline as a whore. I planted you with noble vines, all with choicest seed. Alas, I find you changed into a base and alien vine. Though you wash with natron and use much ware, your guilt is ingrained before me, declares our Father in heaven, Elohim. How can you say, I am not defiled? I have not gone after the Balaam. Look at your deeds in the valley. Consider what you have done, like a lustful she-camel, restlessly running about, or like a wild donkey used to the desert, snuffing the wind in her eagerness, whose passion none can restrain. None that seek her need grow weary. In her season they'll find her. Save your foot from going bare and your throat from thirst, but you say, it is no use. No, I love the strangers, and after them I must go. Like a thief, Chadjarin, when he is caught, so is the house of Israel, Chadjarin, they, their kings, their officers, and their priests and prophets. They said to wood, you are my father, to stone, you gave birth to me. While to me they turn their backs and not their faces, but in their hour of calamity they cry, arise and save us. And where are those mighty ones you made for yourself? Let them arise and save you, if they can, in your hour of calamity, for your mighty ones have become, O Jehudah, as many as your towns. Why do you call me to account? You have all rebelled against me, declares our Father in heaven. To no purpose did I smite your children. They will not accept correction. Your sword has devoured your prophets like a ravening lion. O generation, behold the word of our Father in heaven. Have I been like a desert to Israel, or like a land of deep gloom? Then why did my people say, we have broken loose, we will not come to you anymore? Can a maiden forget her jewels, a bride her adornments? Yet my people have forgotten me, days without number. How skillfully you plan your way, to seek out love, while you have even taught the worst of women your ways. Moreover, on your garments is found the lifeblood of the innocent poor. You did not catch them breaking in, yet despite all these things, you say, I have been acquitted. Surely his anger has turned away from me. Lo, I will bring you to judgment for saying, I have not sinned. How you cheapen yourself by changing your course. You shall be put to shame through Mitzrayim, just as you were put to shame through Assyria. From this way too, you will come out with your hands on your head, for our Father in heaven has rejected those you trust. You will not prosper with them. The word of our Father in heaven came to me as follows. If a man divorces his wife and she leaves him and marries another man, can he ever go back to her? Would not such a land be defiled? Now you have whored with many lovers. Can you return to me? Says our Father in heaven. Look up to the bare heights and see, where have they not lain with you? You waited for them on the roadside like a bandit in the wilderness, and you defiled the land with your whoring and your debauchery. And when showers were withheld, and the late rains did not come, you had the brazenness, it says forehead right here. You had the forehead of a street woman. You refused to be ashamed. Just now you called to me, Father, you are the companion of my youth. Does one hate for all time? Does one hate for all time? Does one rage forever? That is how you spoke. You did wrong and had your way. Our Father in heaven said to me in the days of King Josiah, have you seen what rebel Israel did, going to every high mountain and under every leafy tree, and whoring there? I thought after she has done all these things, she will come back to me, but she did not come back. And her sister, faithless Jehudah, saw it. I noted because rebel Israel had committed adultery. I cast her off and handed her a bill of divorce. Yet her sister, faithless Jehudah, was not afraid. She too went and whored. Indeed, the land was defiled by her casual immorality, as she committed adultery with stone and with wood. And after all that, her sister, faithless Jehudah, did not return to me wholeheartedly, but insincerely, declares our Father in heaven. And our Father in heaven said to me, Rebel Israel has shown herself more in the right than faithless Jehudah. Go make this proclamation toward the north and say, turn back, O rebel Israel, declares our Father in heaven. I will not look on you in anger, for I am compassionate, declares our Father in heaven. I do not bear a grudge for all time, only recognize your sin, for you have transgressed against our Father in heaven. Our Father in heaven has scattered your favor. Your favor is among strangers under every leafy tree, and you have not heeded me, declares our Father in heaven. Turn back, rebellious children, declares our Father in heaven. Though I have rejected you, I will take you, one from a town one from a town, and two from a clan, and bring you to Zion, and I will give you shepherds after my own heart, who will pasture you with knowledge and skill. And when you increase and are fertile in the land in those days, declares our Father in heaven, men shall no longer speak of the ark of the covenant of our Father in heaven, nor shall it come to mind. They shall not mention it, or miss it, or make another. At that time they shall call Jerusalem throne of our Father in heaven, and all nations shall assemble there in the name of our Father in heaven at Jerusalem. They shall no longer follow the willfulness of their evil hearts. In those days the house of Judah shall go with the house of Israel. They shall come together from the land of the north to the land I gave your fathers as a possession. I have resolved to adopt you as my child, and I gave you a desirable land, the fairest heritage of all the nations. And I thought you would surely call me Father, and never cease to be loyal to me. Instead, you have broken faith with me, as a woman breaks faith with a paramour. O house of Israel, declares our Father in heaven, hark on the bare heights is heard the suppliant weeping of the people of Israel, for they have gone a crooked way, ignoring our Father in heaven, their Elohim. Turn back, our rebellious children. I will hear your afflictions. Here we come to you. For you, O our Father in heaven, are our Elohim. Surely futility comes from the hills, confusion from the mountains. Only through our Father in heaven, our Elohim, is there deliverance for Israel. But the shameful thing has consumed the possessions of our fathers. Ever since our youth, their flocks and herds, their sons and daughters, let us lie down in our shame. Let our disgrace cover us, for we have sinned against our Father in heaven, our Elohim. We and our fathers from our youth to this day, and we have not heeded our Father in heaven, our Elohim. If you return, O Israel, declares our Father in heaven, if you return to me, if you remove your abominations from my presence and do not waver, and swear as our Father in heaven lives in sincerity, justice, and righteousness, nations shall bless themselves by you and praise themselves by you. For thus said our Father in heaven to the men of Jehudah and to Jerusalem, break up the untilled ground, and do not sow among thorns. Open your hearts to our Father in heaven. Remove the thickening about your hearts, O men of Jehudah and inhabitants of Jerusalem. Lest my wrath break forth like fire and burn with none to quench it. Because of your wicked arts, proclaim in Jehudah, announce in Jerusalem, and say, blow the horn in the land, shout aloud and say, assemble and let us go into the fortified cities. Set up a signpost to Zion, take refuge, do not delay, for I bring evil from the north and great disaster. The lion has come up from his thicket. The destroyer of nations has departed from his place to make your land a desolation. Your cities shall be ruined without inhabitants. For this, put on sackcloth, mourn and wail, for the blazing anger of our Father in heaven has not turned away from us. And in that day, declares our Father in heaven, the mind of the king and the mind of the noble shall fail. The priest shall be appalled, and the prophet shall stand aghast. And I said, our Father in heaven, Elohim, surely you have deceived this people and Jerusalem, saying, it shall be well with you. Yet the sword threatens the very life. At that time it shall be said concerning this people and Jerusalem, the conduct of my poor people is like searing wind from the bare heights of the desert. It will not serve to win now or to fan. A full blast from them comes against me. Now I, in turn, will bring charges against them. Lo, he ascends like clouds. His chariots are like a whirlwind. His horses are swifter than eagles. Woe to us, we are ruined. Wash your heart clean of wickedness, O Jerusalem, that you may be rescued. How long will you harbor within you your evil designs? Hark, one proclaims from Dan, and announces calamity from Mount Ephraim. Tell the nations, here they are. Announce concerning Jerusalem, watchers are coming from a distant land. They raise their voices against the towns of Jehudah, like guards of fields. They surround her on every side, for she has rebelled against me, declares our Father in heaven. Your conduct and your acts have brought this upon you. This is your bitter punishment. It pierces your very heart. Oh, my suffering, how I writhe. Oh, the walls of my heart. Wow. My heart moans within me. I cannot be silent, for I hear the blare of horns, alarms of war. Disaster overtakes disaster, for all the land has been ravaged. Suddenly my tents have been ravaged. In a moment my tent closed. How long must I see standards and hear the blare of horns? For my people are stupid. They give me no heed. They are foolish children. They are not intelligent. They are clever at doing wrong, but unable to do right. I look at the earth; it is unformed and void. At the skies, and their light is gone. I look at the mountains; they are quaking, and all the hills are rocking. I look; no man is left, and all the birds of the sky have fled. I look; the farmland is desert, and all its towns are in ruin because of our Father in heaven, because of his blazing anger. For thus said our Father in heaven, the whole land shall be desolate, but I will not make an end of it. For this the earth mourns, its skies are dark above, because I have spoken, I have planned, and I will not relent or turn back from it. At the shout of horsemen and bowmen, the whole city flees. They enter the thickets. They clamber up the rocks. The whole city is deserted. Not a man remains there. And you who are doomed to ruin, what do you accomplish by wearing crimson, by decking yourself in jewels of gold, by enlarging your eyes with kohl? You beautify yourself in vain. Lovers despise you. They seek your life. I hear a voice as of one in travail, anguish as of a woman bearing her first child. The voice of fair Zion, panting, stretching out her hands. Alas for me, I faint before the killers. Roam the streets of Jerusalem. Search its squares. Look about and take note. You will not find a man. There is none who acts justly, who seeks integrity, that I should pardon her. Even when they say, as our Father in heaven lives, they are sure to be swearing falsely. O our Father in heaven, your eyes look. O our Father in heaven, your eyes look for integrity. You have struck them, but they sense no pain. You have consumed them, but they would accept no discipline. They made their faces harder than rock. They refused to turn back. Then I thought, these are just poor folk. They act foolishly, for they do not know the way of our Father in heaven, the rules of their Elohim. So I will go to the wealthy and speak with them. Surely they know the way of our Father in heaven, the rules of their Elohim. But they as well had broken a yoke, had snapped the bonds. Therefore, the lion of the forest strikes them down. The wolf of the desert ravages them. A leper lies away by their towns. Whoever leaves them will be torn in pieces. For their transgressions are many, their rebellious acts unnumbered. Why should I forgive you? Your children have forsaken me and sworn by no mighty ones. When I fed them their field, they committed adultery and went trooping to the harlot's house. They were well fed, lusty stallions, each neighing at another's wife. Shall I not punish such deeds? Says our Father in heaven. Father, forgive me for doing that as well. Neighing at others' wives. Shall I not bring retribution on a nation such as this? Go up among her vines and destroy, lop off her trailing branches. For they are not of our Father in heaven, but do not make an end. For the house of Israel and the house of Jehudah have betrayed me, declares our Father in heaven. They have been false to our Father in heaven and said, it is not so. No trouble shall come upon us. We shall not see sword or famine. The prophets shall prove mere wind, for the word is not in them. Thus and thus shall be done to them. Surely thus said our Father in heaven, the Elohim of hosts, because they said that I am putting my word into your mouth as fire, and this people shall be firewood, which it will consume. Lo, I am bringing against you, O house of Israel, a nation from afar, declares our Father in heaven. It is an enduring nation. It is an ancient nation, a nation whose language you do not know. You will not understand what they say. Their quivers are like a yawning grave. They are almighty men. They will devour your harvest and food. They will devour your sons and daughters. They will devour your flocks and herds. They will devour your vines and victories. They will batter down with the sword the fortified towns on which you rely. But even in those days, declares our Father in heaven, I will not make an end of you. And when they ask, because of what did our Father in heaven, our Elohim, do all these things, you shall answer them, because you forsook me and served alien mighty ones on your own land. You will have to serve foreigners in a land not your own. Proclaim this to the house of Jacob and announce it in Jehudah. Hear this, O foolish people, devoid of intelligence, that have eyes but can't see, that have ears but can't hear. Should you not revere me, says our Father in heaven? Should you not tremble before me? Who set the sand as a boundary to the sea, as a limit for all time, not to be transgressed? Though its waves toss, they cannot prevail. Though they roar, they cannot pass it. Yet this people has a wayward and defiant heart. They have turned aside and gone their way. They have not said to themselves, let us revere our Father in heaven, our Elohim, who gives the rain, the early and late rain in season, who keeps for our benefit the weeks appointed for harvest. It is your iniquities that have diverted these things, your sins that have withheld the bounty from you. For among my people are found wicked men who lurk like fowlers, lying in wait. They set up a trap to catch men, as the cage is full of birds. So their houses are full of guile. That is why they have grown so wealthy. They have become fat and sleek. They pass beyond the bounds of wickedness, and they prosper. They will not judge the case of the orphan, nor giving a hearing to the plea of the needy. Shall I not punish such deeds, says our Father in heaven? Shall I not bring retribution on a nation such as this? An appalling, horrible thing has happened in the land. An appalling, horrible thing has happened in their land. The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests rule accordingly, and my people like it so. But what will you do at the end of it? Flee for refuge, O people of Benjamin, out of the midst of Jerusalem. Blow the horn in Tekoa. Set up a signal at Beth Hacharim, for evil is appearing from the north and great disaster. Fair Zion, and lovely and delicate, I will destroy. Against her, I just want to thank our Father and the Son and the Spirit for blessing me with a job right now. Legend, if you ever get to watch this, our Father and the Son and the Spirit just blessed us, with a job, bonus Domino's, manager Domino's position. It's truly a blessing, man. All praise our Father and Son and Holy Spirit for that. I just had to let him know, just give him a shout out for that, man. I love our Father and Son and Holy Spirit, man, because it's like I was slightly down him, and I'm so sorry for doing that to our Father and Son and Holy Spirit, because he definitely came through, man. He always comes through for me, man, and I love our Father and Son and Holy Spirit. Always at the perfect time. Perfect timing. I mean, fair Zion, the lovely and delicate, I will destroy. Against her come shepherds with their flocks. They pitch tents all around her. Each grazes the sheep under his care. Prepare for battle against her. Up, we will attack at noon. Alas for us, for day is declining. The shadows of evening grow long. Up, let us attack by night and wreck her fortresses. For thus said our Father in heaven of hosts. Hew down her trees and arise a siege mount against Jerusalem. She is the city destined for punishment. Only fraud is found in her midst. As a well flows with water, so she flows with wickedness. Lawlessness and rapine are heard in her. Before me constantly are sickness and wounds, except rebuke, O Jerusalem, lest I come to loathe you, lest I make you a desolation and uninhabited land. Thus said our Father in heaven of hosts, let them glean over and over as a vine, the remnant of Israel. Pass your hand again like a vintager over its branches. To whom shall I speak? Give warning that they may hear. Their ears are blocked, and they cannot listen. See, the word of our Father in heaven has become for them an object of scorn. They will have none of it. But I am filled with the wrath of our Father in heaven. I cannot hold it in. Pour it out on the infant in the street, and on the company of youths gathered together. Yes, men and women alike shall be captured, elders and those of advanced years. Their houses shall pass to others, fields and wives as well. For I will stretch out my arm against the inhabitants of the country, declares our Father in heaven. For from the smallest to the greatest, they are all greedy for gain, priest and prophet alike. They all act falsely. They offer healing offhand for the wounds of my people, saying all is well, when nothing is well. They have acted shamefully. They have done abhorrent things, yet they do not feel shame, and they cannot be made to blush. Assuredly they shall fall among the fallen. They shall stumble at the time when I punish them. When I punish them, said our Father in heaven. Thus said our Father in heaven, stand by the roads and consider, inquire about ancient past, which is the road to happiness. Travel it and find tranquility for yourselves. But they said, we would not, and I raised up watchmen for you. Hearken to the sound of the horn, but they said, we would not. Hear well, O nations, and know, O community, what is in store for them. Hear, O earth, I am going to bring disaster upon his people, the outcome of their own schemes, for they would not hearken to my words, and they rejected my instruction. What need have I of frankincense that comes from Sheba, or fragrant came from a distant land? Your burnt offerings are not acceptable, and your sacrifices are not pleasing to me. As surely thus said our Father in heaven, I shall put before this people stumbling blocks, over which they shall stumble. Fathers and children alike, neighbor and friend shall perish. Thus said our Father in heaven, see, a prophet comes from the northland. A great nation is aroused from the remotest parts of the earth. They grasp the bow and javelin. They are cruel, they show no mercy. The sound of them is like the roaring sea. They ride upon horses, accoutred like a man for battle. Against you, O fair Zion, we have heard the report of them. Our hands fail, pain seizes us, agony like a woman in childbirth. Do not go out into the country, do not walk the roads, for the sword of the enemy is there. Terror on every side. My poor people, put on sackcloth and strew dust on yourselves. Mourn as for an only child, wail bitterly, for suddenly the destroyer is coming upon us. I have made you an assayer of my people, a refiner. You are to know and assay their ways. They are copper and iron. They are stubbornly defiant. They deal basely, all of them act corruptly. The pillows puff. The lead is consumed by fire, yet the smelter smelts to no purpose. The dross is not separated out. They are called rejected silver, for our Father in heaven has rejected them. The word which came to Jeremiah from our Father in heaven, stand at the gate of the house of our Father in heaven, and there proclaim this word. Hear the word of our Father in heaven, all you of Judah who enter these gates to worship our Father in heaven. Thus said our Father in heaven of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, mend your ways and your actions, and I will let you dwell in this place. Don't put your trust in illusions and say, the temple of our Father in heaven, the temple of our Father in heaven, the temple of our Father in heaven are these buildings. No, if you really mend your ways and your actions, if you execute justice between one man and another, if you do not oppress the stranger, the orphan, and the widow, if you do not shed the blood of the innocent in this place, if you do not follow all the mighty ones to your own hurt, then only will I let you dwell in this place, in the land that I gave to your fathers for all time. See, you are relying on illusions that are of no avail. Will you steal and murder and commit adultery and swear falsely and sacrifice to Baal and follow other mighty ones whom you have not experienced, and then come and stand before me in this house which bears my name and say, we are safe to all these abhorrent things? Do you consider this house which bears my name to be a den of thieves? As for me, I've been watching, declares our Father in heaven. Just go to my place at Shiloh, where I had established my name formerly, and see what I did to it because of the wickedness of my people is real. And now because you do all these things, declares our Father in heaven, and though I spoke to you persistently, you would not listen, and though I called to you, you would not respond. Therefore I would do to the house which bears my name, on which you rely, into the place which I gave to you and which I gave you and your fathers, just what I did to Shiloh, and I will cast you out of my presence as I cast out your brothers, the whole brood of Ephraim. As for you, do not pray for this people, do not raise a prayer on their behalf, do not plead with me, for I will not listen to you. Don't you see what they are doing in the towns of Jehudah and in the streets of Jerusalem? The children gather sticks, the fathers build a fire, and the mothers knead dough to make cakes for the queen of heaven, and they pour libations to other mighty ones to vex me. Is it me they are vexing? Says our Father in heaven, it is rather themselves to their own disgrace. Assuredly, thus said our Father in heaven, Elohim, my wrath and my fury will be poured out upon this place, on man and on beast, on the trees of the field and the fruit of the soil. It shall burn with none to quench it. Thus said our Father in heaven of hosts, the Elohim of Israel. Add your burnt offerings to your Add your burnt offerings to your other sacrifices, and eat the meat. For when I freed your fathers from the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt, I did not speak with them or command them concerning burnt offerings or sacrifice. But this is what I commanded them: do my bidding, that I may be your Elohim, and you may be my people. Walk only in the way that I enjoin upon you, that it may go well with you. Yet they did not listen or give ear. They followed their own counsels, the willfulness of their evil hearts. They have gone backward, not forward, from the day your fathers left the land of Mitzrayim until today. And though I kept sending all my servants, the prophets, to them daily and persistently, they would not listen to me or give ear. They stiffened their necks. They acted worse than their fathers. You shall say all these things to them, but they will not listen to you. You shall call to them, but they will not respond to you. Then say to them, this is the nation that will not obey our Father in heaven, dear Elohim, that will not accept rebuke. Faithfulness has perished, vanished from their mouths. Shear your locks and cast them away. Take up a lament on the heights. For our Father in heaven has spurned and cast off the brood that provoked his wrath. For the people of Jehudah have done what displeases me, declares our Father in heaven. They have set up their abominations in the house which is called by my name, and they have defiled it, and they have built the shrines of Topheth in the valley of Ben Hinnom to burn their sons and daughters in fire, which I never commanded, which never came to my mind. And surely, you see, and they have built the shrines of Topheth in the valley of Ben Hinnom to burn their sons and daughters in fire, which I never commanded, which never came to my mind. As surely a time is coming, declares our Father in heaven, when men shall no longer speak of Topheth or the valley of Ben Hinnom, but of the valley of slaughter, and they shall bury in Topheth until no room is left. The carcasses of this people shall be food for the birds of the sky and the beasts of the earth, with none to frighten them off. And I will silence in the towns of Jehudah and the streets of Jerusalem the sound of mirth and gladness, the voice of bridegroom and bride. For the whole land shall fall to ruin. At that time, declares our Father in heaven, the bones of the kings of Jehudah, of its officers, of the priests, of the prophets, and of the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be taken out of their graves and exposed to the sun, the moon, and all the hosts of heaven, which they loved and served and followed, to which they turned and bowed down. They shall not be gathered for burial. They shall become dung upon the face of the earth, and death shall be preferable to life for all that are left of this wicked folk, and all the other places to which I shall banish them, declares our Father in heaven of hosts. Say to them, thus said our Father in heaven, when men fall, do they not get up again? If they turn aside, do they not turn back? Why is this people, Jerusalem, rebellious with a persistent rebellion? They cling to deceit, they refuse to return. I have listened and heard. They do not speak honestly. No one regrets his wickedness and says, what have I done? They are persistent in their wayward course, like a steed dashing forward in the fray. Even the stork in the sky knows her seasons, and the turtle does swift and crane heed the time of their coming, but my people pay no heed to the law of our Father in heaven. How can you say we are wise, and we possess the instruction of our Father in heaven? Assuredly for naught has the pen labored, for naught the scribes. The wise shall be put to shame, shall be dismayed and caught. See, they reject the word of our Father in heaven, so their wisdom amounts to nothing. Assuredly I will give their wives to others, and their fields to dispossessors. For from the smallest to the greatest, they are all greedy for gain. Priest and prophet alike, they all act falsely. They offer healing offering for the wounds of my poor people, saying all is well, when nothing is well. They have acted shamefully, they have done abhorrent things. Yet they do not feel shame, they cannot be made to blush. Assuredly they shall fall among the fallen, they shall stumble at the time of their doom. Said our Father in heaven, I will make an end of them. Declares our Father in heaven, the grapes left on the vine, no figs on the fig tree, the leaves all withered. Whatever I have given them is gone. Why are we sitting by? Let us gather into the fortified cities and meet our doom there. For our Father in heaven, our Elohim has doomed us. He has made us drink a bitter draught because we sinned against our Father in heaven. We hoped for good fortune, but no happiness came. For a time of relief, instead there is terror. The stoning of their horses was heard from Dan. At the loud neighing of their steeds, the whole land quaked. They came and devoured the land and what was in it, the towns and those who dwell in them. Lo, I will send serpents against you, adders that cannot be charmed, and they shall bite you, declares our Father in heaven. When in grief I would seek comfort, my heart is sick within me. Is not our Father in heaven in Zion? Is not her king within her? Why then did they anger me with their images, with alien futilities? Hark! The outcry of my poor people from the land fair and wide. Harvest is past, summer is gone, but we have not been saved because my people is shattered. I am shattered, I am dejected, seized by desolation. Is there no palm in Gilead? Can no physician be found? Why has healing not yet come to my poor people? Oh, that my head were water, my eyes a fount of tears. Then would I weep day and night for the slain of my poor people. Oh, to be in the desert at an encampment for wayfarers. Oh, to leave my people to go away from them. For they are all adulterers at bane of robes. They bend their tongues like bows. They are valorous in the land for treachery, not for honesty. They advance from evil to evil, and they do not heed me, declares our Father in heaven. Beware every man of his friend. Trust not even a brother, for every brother takes advantage. Every friend is base in his dealings. One man cheats the other. They will not speak truth. They have trained their tongues to speak falsely. They wear themselves out working iniquity. You dwell in the midst of deceit, and their deceit they refuse to heed me, declares our Father in heaven. Assuredly, thus said our Father in heaven of hosts, Lo, I shall smelt and essay them, for what else can I do because of my poor people? Their tongue is a sharpened arrow. They use their mouths to deceive. One speaks to his fellow in friendship, but lays an ambush for him in his heart. Shall I not punish them for such deeds, says our Father in heaven? Shall I not bring retribution on such a nation as this? For the mountains I take up weeping and wailing, for the pastures and the wilderness a dirge. They are laid waste, no man passes through, and no sound of cattle is heard. Birds of the sky and beasts as well have fled and are gone. I will turn Jerusalem into rubble, into dens for jackals, and I will make the towns of Jehudah a desolation without inhabitants. What man is so wise that he understands this? To whom has our Father in heaven's mouth spoken, so that he can explain it? Why is the land of ruins laid waste like a wilderness, with none passing through? Our Father in heaven replied, because they forsook the teaching I had set before them. They did not obey me, and they did not follow it, but followed their own willful heart, and followed the Balaam, as their fathers had taught them. But surely thus said our Father in heaven of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, I am going to feed that people wormwood and make them drink a bitter draught. I will scatter them among nations which they and their fathers never knew, and I will dispatch the sword after them until I have consumed them. Thus said our Father in heaven of hosts, listen, summon the dirge singers, let them come. Send for the skilled woman, let them come. Let them quickly start a wailing for us, that our eyes may run with tears. Our peoples flow with water, for the sound of wailing is heard from Zion. How we are despoiled, how greatly we are shamed. We must leave our land, abandon our dwellings. Hear, O woman, the word of our Father in heaven. Let your ears receive the word of his mouth, and teach your daughters wailing in one another. Lamentation for death has climbed through our windows, has entered our fortresses, to cut off babes from the streets, young men from the squares. Speak thus, says our Father in heaven, the carcasses of men shall lie, like dung upon the fields, like sheaves behind the reaper, with none to pick them up. Thus said our Father in heaven, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, let not the strong man glory in his strength, let not the rich man glory in his riches. But only in this should one glory, in his earnest devotion to me. For I, our Father in heaven, act with kindness, justice, and equity in the world. For in these I delight, declares our Father in heaven. Lo, days are coming, declares our Father in heaven, when I will take note of everyone circumcised in the foreskin of Mitzrayim, Jehudah, Edom, the Ammonites, Moab, and all the desert dwellers who have the hair of their temples climbed. For all these nations are uncircumcised, but all the house of Israel are uncircumcised of heart. Hear the word which our Father Hear the word which our Father in heaven has spoken to you, O house of Israel. Thus said our Father in heaven, do not learn to go the way of the nations, and do not be dismayed by portents in the sky. Let the nations be dismayed by them. For the laws of the nations are delusions, for it is the work of a craftsman's hands. He cuts down a tree in the forest with an axe. He adorns it with silver and gold. He fastens it with nails and hammer, so that it does not totter. They are like a scarecrow in a cucumber patch. They cannot speak. They have to be carried, for they cannot walk. Be not afraid of them, for they can do no harm. Nor is it in them to do any good. O our Father in heaven, there is none like you. You are great, and your name is great in power. Who would not revere you, O King of the nations? For that is your due, since among all the wise of the nations and among all the royalty, there is none like you, but they are both dull and foolish. Their doctrine is but delusion. It is a piece of wood, silver beaten flat, that is brought from Tarshish, and gold from Uphaz, the work of a craftsman, and the goldsmith's hands. Their clothing is blue and purple. All of them are the work of skilled men. But our Father in heaven is truly Elohim. He is a living Elohim, the everlasting King. At his wrath the earth quakes, and nations cannot endure his rage. Thus shall you say to them, let the mighty ones who did not make heaven and earth perish from the earth and from under these heavens. He made the earth by his might, established the world by his wisdom, and by his understanding stretched out the skies when he makes his voice heard. There is a rumbling of water in the skies. He makes vapors rise from the end of the earth. He makes lightning for the rain and brings forth wind from his treasuries. Every man is proved dull without knowledge. Every goldsmith is put to shame because of the idol. For his molten image is a deceit. There is no breath in them. They are delusion, a work of mockery. In the hour of doom they shall perish. Not like these is the portion of Jacob. For it is he who formed all things, and Israel is his very own tribe. Our Father in heaven, of hosts is his name. Gather up your bundle from the ground, you who dwell under siege. For thus said our Father in heaven, I will fling away the inhabitants of the land. This time I will harass them so that they shall feel it. Woe unto me for my hurt. My wound is severe. I thought this is but a sickness, and I must bear it. My tents are ravaged. All my tent cords are broken. My children have gone forth from me and are no more. No one is left to stretch out my tent and hang my tent cloths. For the shepherds are dull and do not seek our Father in heaven. Therefore they have not prospered, and all their flock is scattered. Harking noise, it is coming, a great commotion out of the north, that the towns of Jehudah may be made a desolation, a haunt of jackals. I know, O our Father in heaven, that man's road is not his to choose, that man as he walks cannot direct his own steps. Chastise me, O our Father in heaven, but in measure. Amen. Not in your wrath, lest you reduce me to naught. Amen. Pour out your wrath on the nations who have not heeded you. Amen. Upon the clans that have not invoked your name. Amen. For they have devoured your coal. Amen. Have devoured and consumed them, and have laid desolate his homesteads. That's good right here. Yes, sir. So what we finna do now, let's get this workout in. May our Father, Son, and Spirit with us. Amen.